All right, buddy, welcome to the show. I got an awesome one for you today. So, there's a lot going on with the PGA Tour. Now, I know that sounds boring. I know roughly 1% of you are interested in golf, but this is bigger than just golf. This is politics as well. This is geopolitics, so politics internationally. And it ain't good, man. It ain't good. So, I may have to calm myself down during this first segment, which we'll get into in just a little bit. We also have Chris Christie launches his campaign, and Trump is having a field day, as predicted. So we'll look into that. We also have pretty big news when it comes to Trump's classified documents case, because there was apparently video evidence of them trying to hide some of the proof that they were committing a crime and they were hiding classified documents from the government. But now, would you look at that? It turns out it got flooded by a pool at Mar-a-Lago. Suspicious, to say the least. Then I will get into the question about aliens. There's a big news report that just came out where a top U.S. government official, an intelligence agent, is saying, oh, not only are there aliens, we have their aircraft fully intact. And then later on, I'll give you... There's a new Republican candidate who's running who I absolutely adore. Not because I like his policies, not because I think he's a good person or politician, but because, I kid you not when I say, he seems AI generated from the 1980s. It's a glorious thing. Glorious thing. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, if you've watched this show for a long time, you guys know I love golf. I love golf. I golf in my free time. My dad started me playing when I was a kid. It's fun, man. It's fun. And, you know, I always sort of bristled at the notion that golf is an elitist sport because there's actually many, many working class people that play golf. If you go to a public course on a Saturday afternoon, you go and tell me what the clientele looks like. These are good working class people. But golf has been marred by this label of being an elitist sport. Well, now it just got even worse than that. Now, not only are they elitist, we're at the point where a literal genocidal theocratic dictatorship has effectively purchased the entire sport of professional golf. Really, really astonishing stuff. So for those of you who haven't been following this, the PGA Tour is where all the best players in the world play. But recently, you had this upstart league called the LIV Golf League, funded by Saudi Arabia. They came onto the scene about a year or two ago, and they started buying off top golf talent. And they were throwing money around left and right. I mean, I think Phil Mickelson got $200 million. Dustin Johnson got over $100 million. Lord only knows what Bryson DeChambeau, he probably got over $100 million. They were offering these big guaranteed contracts to pull people from the PGA Tour and basically start a rival golf league that they want to become the best league in the world. Now, of course, the PGA Tour did not take kindly to this. And they started going on a crusade against LIV Golf. And one of the arguments that they used in the process was saying, hey, this is funded by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is a terrible government with rampant human rights abuses. Look at Jamal Khashoggi. Look at what happened with the government funding 9/11. Look at what's happening in Yemen. Saudi Arabia is currently doing a genocide in Yemen and starving the country and bombing innocent people, mosques, hospitals, open-air markets, schools. This is all a matter of record. It's all a matter of public record. So they leaned into this moral angle, this ethical angle, this like, hey man, one of the lines from the PGA Tour commissioner at the time was, you never have to apologize for playing on the PGA Tour. A lot of these now Saudi-paid players have to apologize for being on the LIV Tour. Well, guess what? Yesterday we got the news. Take a look at this. PGA Tour agrees to merge with Saudi-backed rival league. This is in CNBC. They're the ones who broke the news. The PGA Tour agreed to merge with rival LIV League, which is backed by the Saudi Arabia Public Investment Fund, an entity controlled by the Saudi Crown Prince. The proposed merger comes after the PGA Tour and LIV Golf have been embroiled in lawsuits regarding antitrust claims. The deal would end all pending litigation. So LIV Golf was suing the PGA Tour. And we were probably around the discovery portion. Perhaps the PGA Tour was afraid about what would come out about their business practices. during the course of this trial. So they agreed to merge after talking a big game around morality and ethics and saying, bro, this is an evil government. This is a genocidal government. This is a theocratic dictatorship. Hey, don't go play for them. They're terrible. Now, all of a sudden, the theocratic dictatorship is wonderful and is worthy of a partnership. Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, who made this decision, get this, guys, he went behind the backs of all of the PGA Tour players. He had PGA Tour players like Rory McIlroy out there leading the charge against the LIV Golf League, calling them out repeatedly, highlighting Saudi's human rights abuses, highlighting all the problems with the league. And then now he snuck behind all their backs and negotiated a deal with the LIV Golf League and then told the players after they were done. They had a player meeting yesterday, and apparently there was a revolt in that meeting. People were calling for Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, to step down. People were calling him a hypocrite. People were yelling. And you know what? I fully understand. Now, if you spent your life being a professional golfer, it is unavoidable that you're going to have to cash checks from a genocidal dictator. Could you imagine being in that position? But why did they do it? Well, the answer is simple. Green. Money. They were made an offer they couldn't refuse. So if the size of the purses for these events doubles or triples, they're going to say, you know what? Human rights abuse, schmoomin' flight flafloose. I don't care about any of that. Why would I care about any of that? So look, the part of this that broke my heart the most is the 9/11 families came out. And the PGA Tour, get this, guys, this is how loathsome Jay Monahan is, the PGA Tour commissioner. He was previously talking to 9/11 victims' families, working with them, hearing them out, echoing their points. And now, totally stabs them in the back and leaves them on the side of the road as roadkill. So that group, when they see this news, they come out and they say the following. 9/11 Families United is shocked and deeply offended by the newly announced merger between the PGA Tour and the LIV Golf League that is bankrolled by billions of sports washing money from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Saudi operatives played a role in the 9/11 terrorist attacks, and now it is bankrolling all of professional golf. All of it. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan co-opted the 9/11 community last year in the PGA's unequivocal agreement that the Saudi LIV project was nothing more than sports washing of Saudi Arabia's reputation. But now, the PGA and Monahan appear to have become just more paid Saudi shills, taking billions of dollars to cleanse the Saudi reputation so that Americans and the world will forget how the kingdom spent their billions of dollars before 9/11 to fund terrorism, spread their vitriolic hatred of Americans, and finance Al-Qaeda and the murder of our loved ones. Make no mistake, we will never forget, said 9/11 Families United chair Terry Strada, whose husband, Tom, died in the World Trade Center's North Tower. Mr. Monahan talked last summer about knowing people who lost loved ones on 9/11, then wondered aloud on national television whether LIV golfers ever had to apologize for being a member of the PGA Tour. They do now, as he does. PGA Tour leaders should be ashamed of their hypocrisy and greed. Our entire 9/11 community has been betrayed by Commissioner Monahan and the PGA, as it appears their concern for our loved ones was merely window dressing in their quest for money. It was never to honor the great game of golf. By the way, Trump predicted this. Trump said a year ago, like, oh, I don't know why everybody's putting up a fight, because you know what? Eventually, Saudi Arabia is going to make a deal with this league. Saudi Arabia is going to make a deal with PGA Tour. And that's exactly what happened. Let me ask you a question, guys. What happens to all those players who stuck their neck out for the PGA Tour and echoed the moral arguments? The guys who went to LIV got paid $50 million, $100 million, $200 million. But you got a guy like Tiger Woods who turned down an offer of $800 million only for the PGA Tour to go behind his back and cut a deal with the league anyway. What about those players? What's going to happen? I mean, there's mumbling on the streets of maybe the LIV players will get like a fine or a penalty for abandoning the PGA Tour, and the PGA Tour players who stayed loyal will get some sort of a bonus. I don't know. That's all yet to be seen. But I can't imagine being a player who stood on principle, on morals and ethics, only to have the head of your league stab you in the back and cut a deal with a vicious murderous, genocidal, theocratic dictator. They chopped Jamal Khashoggi into pieces and then lied about it. That's what they did. They behead people in the public square for witchcraft. Witchcraft? Sorcery? Apostasy? These are all things that aren't even like real things or crimes, and they're beheading people in the public square over it. They funded jihadism across the world. They funded 9/11. Like I said, they're doing a genocide in Yemen right now as we speak. They're as bellicose and arrogant and extremist as a government can get, but as long as the money's right, the PGA Tour will bend the knee. And that is exactly what happened. So look, there are golf format angles to this, which we don't need to get too much into, but the way LIV Golf works is it's 54 holes instead of 72 holes for a tournament. So in other words, it's a 3-day tournament, not a 4-day tournament as golf events usually are. And they have what's called a shotgun start, which means everybody goes off at once as opposed to everybody going off the first tee like they do on the PGA Tour. They have music playing in the background at LIV Golf. They don't on the PGA Tour. There's all these formatting issues that they're going to have to work out. What are they going to do? Are they going to keep the music? Are they going to do 54 holes? Are they going to change it to 72 holes? On the PGA Tour, there are cuts. So like the first 2 days, if you're in the bottom half of the field, you make no money and you're gone for the week. They got rid of cuts on the LIV Tour. How is this going to be addressed? How is this going to be reconciled? This is all yet to be seen. We don't really know any of the details or the specifics as to what this new league, this new tour is going to look like. But none of that really matters. Because the most important part is this. At the end of the day, in a capitalist system, greed wins. And the PGA Tour made a big deal about them being a non-profit organization and doing all of this charity. Well, guess what? That was just a cover story also. That was all so they can keep a particular legal status. So effectively, the people at the top could make more money, right? A lot of people like Phil Mickelson had gripes with the PGA Tour, but their gripes were idiotic. His gripe was like, hey, I, an 80 millionaire, don't make enough money for hitting a white ball around a field. That was his argument. No, the real problem with the PGA Tour was if you're in like the bottom quarter of players, if you hit a slump, you might be in debt. You might be losing money because you don't get a salary, right? Problem with the PGA Tour is the volunteers who work at all the events don't get paid. They're just volunteers and they're busting their ass out there trying to make the event run smoothly. I have problems with the PGA Tour, but they were nothing in comparison to a theocratic genocidal dictator murdering people right now as we speak. But now, there is no distinction. Now, they're one and the same. Now, they're holding hands and acting like everything's hunky-dory. Let me ask you a question. For anybody who would still say, I don't think this is a big deal. Really? Really? Why should a foreign government even be allowed to buy an entire U.S. industry on a whim? If Vladimir Putin woke up today and said, I'm going to purchase all of U.S. steel, would everybody be like, yeah, okay, yeah, freedom, whatever. Or we go, whoa. There are huge implications to this that we're not comfortable with. But since they're our ally, nobody bats an eyelash. They're not really our ally. They're not. But again, if Iran decided to purchase a giant U.S. industry, everybody would be like, whoa, what's going on here? North Korea decided to do it. Really? You're going to cut a paycheck from Kim Jong-un? But MBS? Yawn. Nobody cares. Nobody says anything. All the golfers are out there dressing this up, doing the sports washing that MBS and the Saudi regime desperately wanted them to do. That's where we are, man. That's where we are. Look, it shouldn't be allowed. Shouldn't be allowed. I mean, I think it's sketchy enough if just a single foreign investor buys up an entire U.S. industry. But now you're talking about a hostile foreign government. So what happens now if a U.S. president decides to get in office and do the right thing? Hey, we're going to get back in the Iran deal because we don't want war with Iran. Hey, we're going to become more energy independent and not be so reliant on Saudi Arabia. We're going to untangle our relationship with Saudi Arabia. Now, if a U.S. president does that, is the head of the PGA Tour going to go lobby on behalf of the theocratic dictator who doesn't want the U.S. president to go in that direction? And the answer is yes. Money's going to talk. Just like it bought the head of the PGA Tour, it's going to buy the government. It already has bought the government. And here we are. So I feel terrible for all the golfer. If you're a pro golfer and you have the most basic moral compass, I feel terrible for you. Because now it's either everything you worked your entire life for, I'm just not going to play golf anymore. I'm going to go get a different job, right? Or it's like, I have no choice but to take a check from a theocratic dictator. That's a terrible place to be in. They should have never been put in that spot in the first place, especially since the PGA Tour was talking a big moral game, right? They were acting like, bro, unethical, immoral. We stand with 9/11 families. Oh, what's the dollar amount? Oh yeah, fuck those 9/11 families. No. I'm with the murderers now. Jay Monahan is a liar. He's a con man. He's a scam artist. He's a greedy prick. And he should be ashamed of himself today. He should be ashamed of himself today. Because you know what? Standing with the 9/11 families, standing on principle against the Saudi Arabian government was the right thing to do. It was. But they didn't want to compete against somebody with unlimited money who wasn't going to go away. That's the reality of the situation. And they cared more about getting paid off. So by the way, the PGA Tour is now going to go from being a non-profit, now they're going to become a for-profit. And there's all these different legal issues that are going to be worked out. By the way, this loser said he met the head of the Saudi Public Investment Fund. And this loser, Jay Monahan, PGA Tour commissioner, said, oh, within 10 minutes I trusted him. You've been played for a fool, you absolute jackass. Look, I don't want to hear it. Oh, I'm just a golfer. No, some things are bigger than sports. Like politics and morality and ethics. Some things are bigger than sports. And you know what? In the end, they took the easy way out. They took the cheap way out. And I'm with all the players who want Jay Monahan to resign. This should never continue. The only hope now, and there already are some articles indicating this, is that the U.S. government is not going to allow this. The U.S. government is going to say this violates our antitrust laws, and we're going to not allow this merger. I hope that's the case, man. And I want big Saudi money out of the U.S. economy because it is nefarious. It's on purpose. It is a way to whitewash their human rights record. That's all this is. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.